And welcome everybody to this post-game live stream here on the Washington Football Maniacs. My name is Greg Sykes, along with Brandon Scott, my co-host, and post-game reactions to the NFC Conference Championship game. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about what's next, and let's get this thing started. And folks, of course, as you know, this channel is dedicated to news and commentary for the Washington Commanders. Hey, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to this channel. We try to put out some really good content for you. We haven't been putting out as much content lately. That's more my fault than anything else. But when we do put out content, we feel like we put out some really good content for you. So please make sure that you want to subscribe to us, support us. Also hit that notification bell so you won't miss any other video releases. YouTube, you know, they're kind of weird about that algorithm. So just make sure that, you know, bypass all that, man, and just go ahead and you know, be notified for all of those videos, Maniacs videos that we put out. So post game here, folks, I'll start by saying that this team far exceeded my expectations for this year. Who would have ever thought that the Washington Commanders would be playing in the NFC Conference Championship game for the 2024 season? I didn't think that. I know Brandon didn't think that. Honestly, I'll probably do like a reaction of ourselves, Brandon. I think that might be a good idea of like some of the comments that we made at the beginning of the season. But, you know, we really thought, hey, if this team wins 7 games, but, you know, is very competitive throughout the year, it's going to be considered a really good thing for this team because, you know, obviously we're going to be building something special. And not only were they competitive, but they wound up going from 4-13 to 12-5.
Oh, yeah.
And getting all the way to the NFC Conference Championship game. That is no easy task for any team to accomplish. I mean, it's amazing. And you know, so my hats off to the job that Dan Quinn has done coaching this team. He's done a heck of a job. And he's really put this no fear theory in the team. You know, it's funny because going for that first drive, going for it on 4th down 70 times and getting it like almost every single time. And the only time they didn't go for it is when they kicked the field goal. But after a while, I didn't even blink. Like, I'm like, yeah, go for it. Who cares?
Oh, yeah.
You know, why not? And this team, I think they showed a graphic where this team throughout the season had went for it for like over 30 times on 4th down, or either they got it. I don't remember exactly what the graphic was, but they were like one of the top teams who went for it and was successful on 4th down. So this team has a never say die mentality, no fear mentality. Jaden Daniels encompassed that mentality this year. As a rookie, he was supposed to have some rookie mistakes. It was, you know, some of the stuff was supposed to be a little bit bigger than what he was able to handle. And he answered the bell every single time.
Oh, yeah.
You know, things finally got a little too far out of the reach for him today. Yeah. But there were times that, I mean, even in this game, you could tell that, hey, don't turn the ball over. You got a shot. And the Commanders at one time had a shot to get this game back within like 5 points. And they had their opportunities, Brandon. Really, honestly, the difference in this game today was the turnovers. I mean, total 4 turnovers. That last turnover, honestly, was kind of a desperation thing. But the three main turnovers was really those things were really what the difference was in this game. That put three touchdowns on the board for the Eagles. You take away those three scores, those three turnovers, and Brandon, it would have been a different game.
Oh yeah.
It would have been a much different game. But alas, you can't turn the ball over to the Eagles because Saquon Barkley is going to eat you up, and he did that today. He didn't have as many rushing yards as I thought he was going to, but when he got the ball, he made things happen. He got in the end zone 3 or 4 times. So he was definitely a problem, and he's the biggest reason why that the Eagles are going back to the Super Bowl this year. And this really tells you, Brandon, that just a few years ago, and it's funny because Tom Brady and company were kind of talking about this during the game, that it was kind of the death of the running back.
Yeah.
Like running was kind of considered an afterthought. Like you'd only run the ball if you had like a 3rd and 1 or something like that. But really, the running game was kind of an afterthought, and that's not the case anymore. Now the running game is extremely important. That's the reason why the NFL is starting to kind of adopt more of the athletic quarterback who can take off and run as well. But the running game has been a huge reason why teams have gotten into championship games and Super Bowls, and that's the case. And I've been saying that for years, even when it wasn't very popular to say, and when other fans were like, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about," because other fans were like, "It doesn't matter, just throw somebody in at run back." I'm like, no, the running game is still very popular. It's still something you need. And I've been saying that probably the last 10 years. And we're seeing it now that, yes, it is. It's very important. And I would say that moving forward next year, that's something we need to work on we need a back like Saquon that can be that difference maker. And of course, we need to beef up the offensive line, continue beefing up the offensive line, but we need that on offense. A lot of people talk about wide receivers, but I really think that we still need to beef up the running back situation there. I do like Brian Robinson, but he kind of went away there toward the end of the season. He did have a pretty good game last week. Today he wasn't too bad, but he's not a game changer. And Eckler, he's very good. He's very speedy.
Yeah.
But you can't really have him, it seems like, for all 17 games. And I'm not quite sure if you would call him a game changer or not, maybe. He's getting up there in age as well. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think that is a difference maker when you have a running back like that who can take over the game and take the pressure off your quarterback. But at the same time, also having somebody like Jaden Daniels helps as well, because, he proved it throughout the entire playoffs that he was going to take the team on the shoulders, and he had been doing that. And today, it was insurmountable. You can't turn the ball over and expect to win in the NFC Championship game, and those mistakes are going to cost you. And it did. It cost Washington today. It cost them the game, really. The game was much, much closer. And, but yeah, you turned the ball over. That's just too much to handle. And then you get like a turnover and downs, and the Eagles stop you on one drive. It was so sequential, I guess, at the time when the Eagles needed the stop and they made the stop, and then, turnovers and things like that. So I'm telling you, this is probably the most I've talked since the game, because I've just been pretty subdued. I will say, congratulations to Philadelphia Eagles fans on making it back to the Super Bowl. I'm not going to wish you luck because I just, can't do that. But congratulations, nevertheless. Um, this was a team that I felt Washington had to play in order to get to the Super Bowl, right? You know, I think it would have meant more for Washington to go into Philadelphia and beat Philadelphia to get to the Super Bowl. Not saying not anything bad about the Rams, but I just feel like to really prove that they belong in the Super Bowl, this was who they should have played.
Yeah.
And, they gave it a shot. Um, but, it didn't work out for them today, Brandon. Um, we could look at a lot of reasons why, other than, of course, turnovers. Lattimore, I think, kind of uh, didn't have his head on at
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Played well at times, but at other times it just caused too many penalties. We can also talk about the refs, but you know what? Here's the thing: the refs, and I've noticed, and this is true in a lot of playoff games I've seen. The refs are always going to really kind of favor the home team because
Yeah.
it's kind of how it is. And I mean, honestly, if you go back way back 30 years ago, when this team was the class of the NFL and they had home playoff games, you saw it too. We got the calls, and so that's just kind of how it is. Um, there were some pretty obvious calls that should have been called in the Eagles that were not.
Yeah.
There were some ticky tacky things called on Washington, but at the end of the day, you got to be better than the refs, and you got to be better than turning the ball over. And if you can't overcome those two things, then you don't deserve to move on. So, but hey, bright side, we got a Jaden Daniels heading into a second season. We got holes to fill, but knowing that we got as far as we did, knowing we had holes to fill, and Adam Peters is going to be busy filling those holes in the offseason, this is going to be an exciting team to watch for the next several years, and I'm very pumped about that. Down in the dumps today, but you know, better days definitely are coming. So, Brandon, you watched the game. What were your thoughts, your reactions as you're kind of going through each quarter?
I mean, we beat ourselves. I mean, if you look at the stats, I mean, this outside of Saquon Barkley, I mean, you knew that Saquon Barkley was going to do his thing. I mean, 15 carries, 118 yards. I'm with you. I thought it was going to be more, 3 touchdowns. I mean, to me, in my eyes, he's the MVP. He's earned that award because he's probably been the most explosive offensive player in the league this year by far. So, like I said, he definitely deserves the MVP. And I think that the general manager over for the Giants needs to get fired because he blew that, man. I mean, he had a chance to bring Saquon back, and he pretty much watched the guy almost break the rushing record. So I think he's probably out of the job, and he's probably not the only guy over there in New York because that's a dumpster fire. But we beat ourselves. 4 turnovers. You're not going to win many games with 4 turnovers, and it was just a fashion. Like, yeah, that last turnover you can kind of argue is like it was pretty much whatever at that point. I mean, I wasn't
Yeah.
too upset about that throw. I mean, it was a good catch by that corner man by Mitchell, so he earned that one. But the fumbles is inexcusable. We've had fumble issues all year long. It's been especially with the receivers. De'Ami Brown's been bad for it. Zakai has been bad for it. Crowder got caught it. So we just had a lot of issues with fumbling, especially for those receivers. So I think that's something that needs to be addressed. But I mean, really, how do you address it? Because these guys are probably gonna be free agents after the year. So um, it's just turnovers. I mean, you could argue missed tackles. That first touchdown by Saquon Barkley, you had what 2-3 missed tackles in that play. I mean, not wrapping guys up. I mean, Saquon probably does not run for a 6-yarder if they make that tackle. And again, that was an issue you saw all year long. And it kind of goes to this fact. Yeah, I'm with you. We overexceeded, and I think that we can see the light in the tunnel over 20 years under Dan Snyder. And it really, when you look at reports that people are saying that he was irate because the team in year 2 was in the Super Bowl or close to going to the Super Bowl in an NFC Championship game. The fact he was unhappy shows how much of a I was about to say some words, but how much of a terrible human being he is. That's probably the most like positive thing I can say that's negative. I mean, why would you be upset? 20 years you couldn't get the job done, so any decent human being would have been happy for this franchise. Not that scumbag. No, he's unhappy because he couldn't do it. It shows how much we've, how far we've gone. 20 years under that jerk, and we're heading in the right direction. Adam Peters to me is a very good general manager. He's going to build this team up. If you look at his past off season, his first year as a general manager, he did well through the draft. He did well in free agency, and then he made that one big acquisition at the deadline, getting Marshawn Lattimore from the Saints. So he's shown that he's definitely the right guy for the job. So on the coaching staff, to me, I think that Dan Quinn needs to be at least a finalist for a coach of the year. I think he needs to be a favorite. Because look what he did with a team that's in transition. Year two, you took this team to the NFC Championship game. I think he definitely should be in the conversation for coach of the year. Jane Daniels, he should definitely be in the conversation MVP, but he's not going to get it. I think it's definitely, obviously Saquon Barkley, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson are going to be your top three. But I think he's definitely offensive rookie of the year. It's not even close. I mean, it's not even close at this point. The kid played like a veteran. I mean, we finally found a franchise quarterback. People comparing to RG3. To me, he's better than RG3. So let's stop the comparisons. So he's already found a guy who's better than RG3. So RG3 needs to stop with it, trying to show all this love and all this support, because this was the guy that not too long ago was going to write a book talking about surviving Washington. So stop it. Well, we're definitely heading in the right direction. We really are. We got a good squad. We got some hard decisions. We got some holes. The offensive line looked bad. Cosme was out. Brandon Coleman, that one sack, that's on him. He's got if he wants to be the left tackle of the future, you've got to protect the blind side. He had a few moments where they just sped past him. He needs to work on that. But we need a whole new line. I mean, Biadots, I think is how to pronounce it. I mean, I'm still working on that. He's a solid contributor at center. We'll see. Cosme to me is an all-pro level guard, but outside of that, you saw glimpses of Brandon Coleman, but we don't have a complete line. We need to invest heavily in this offensive line. And I think that is the biggest key to the offseason is that, you can probably go out there and get a receiver too. But you definitely need to go out there and get in the corner. Bobby Wagner will see, linebacker position. You're not going to have, Bobby Wagner's not going to be around forever. And you got to kind of see the next guy up. And I think we have that in Jordan Nagy. I think he's definitely going to be a good linebacker for us beside Luvu. And they really went after Luvu today, man. I mean, he tried to make that play and they caught him for those penalties, but you got to appreciate him trying to make that play. I mean, Luvu to me is the defensive MVP of this team previous year, or not the previous year, this season. But you can argue Bobby Wagner definitely had an impact. Marshawn Lattimore, not his best game. They definitely got this hit a little bit. Him and AJ Brown, we know AJ Brown's that paper gangster. He has a lot to say, so he's definitely revs guys up. And that's the matchup everybody wanted to see was AJ Brown versus Marshawn Lattimore. So look, you got your money's worth today. I mean, that was a good, AJ Brown, look, hats off to him. I mean, they're a good squad. They have probably the best all-around team in the NFL outside of Detroit. But I just hope whoever in the AFC wins. I could care less about Philadelphia. I'm not rooting for them. I'm rooting for them to lose. I mean, because I felt like it kind of comes to this conclusion. They were not that much better than us, man. I mean, you take those turnovers away. This is a winnable game. I mean, this was a winnable game. We were able to really, we took this team, well, not we, but they took this team to the NFC Championship game. And it went into an environment in Philadelphia, which is hard to win in Philadelphia. In any sport, it's hard to win in Philadelphia outside of 76ers this season. But it's one of the toughest road assignments for any team in any sport, whether it's the Phillies, whether it's just the 76ers, up to the season, or the Eagles. It's tough to win in Philly. So I feel like, if you take the turnovers away, this is a winnable game. We stayed in the fight. And it shows you where this team is at, is a culture. Dan Quinn, Adam Peters, Josh Harris has really built a culture here where they're fighting. They fight to the end. From the first whistle to the last one, they're fighting. They stay in games. And, Jane Daniels, hats off to him. The young man he's the real deal. He not only is he unreal athlete, throw for the pocket, throw for the run, never say never type of athlete. The coolness, the way he carries himself, his work ethic. This young man's going to go places, man. He's definitely the franchise quarterback we've been waiting for a long time. And he's just the clear hit and the way he carries himself like a man. Like he's the first guy in the building, last guy out. We're definitely in the right direction. So, I'm sad, but I knew I just knew that, it's going to be one of those games where it's impossible to win in Philly. You cannot have 4 turnovers on the road like that in a hostile environment and think that you have a chance. And you take those turnovers away. You could even take 3 out of the 4 turnovers, and we still have a chance to win this game. Because real quick before I move on, man, I mean, if you look at the team stats, we led in passing yards, 251 to their 230. Total yards, they 459 to 350. They got us on that. Rushing yards, obviously 229 because they threw it down they ran the ball down our throats, man. But getting back to your point real quick about Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen, you know what? We need to reevaluate the defensive tackle position because I don't think we got our money's worth out of Deron Payne or Jonathan Allen. And the fact that, we were able to give up those yards. I get it. Saquon Barkley is an MVP level running back, but still, man, we're paying how much for these two guys? You got Johnny Newton. One of them can go, in my opinion. I mean, you could probably trade Jonathan Allen or Deron Payne in all season and get some draft assets back because Johnny Newton is a starting level defensive tackle. The fact that we weren't dominant. If you look at our defensive line, it was the bookends who were the most dominant this year. Dante Fowler and Dorian Armstrong. Deron Payne, man, and Jonathan Allen, quite frankly, I don't see where the money's going. And I think that we need to look at moving one of them off the books going into the all season. So, and kind of in closing, man, we're heading in the right direction. It's a terrible loss, not so much because we lost to the Eagles, because we got to hear all their mouths and their stupid, their root song, Eagle flies. I mean, first of all, you need a mayor who can spell the name of the team that represents your city, right? I mean, if you can't even spell the name, that tells you all you need to know. So, I mean, hats off to them. I hope they lose. The better team won today. We really shot ourselves in the foot. They were not that much better than us, Greg, and I stand by that comment.
Yeah, I mean, people always say, "Well, look at the score. It was 55 to 23," and I'm like, "Yeah," but again, 3 touchdowns off of 3 turnovers. Well, I guess maybe actually it was 4 touchdowns, because that last 4th turnover was kind of it was in garbage time, and that last touchdown was garbage time, but, you take away 3 of those touchdowns, 21 points off of the board for the Eagles, and you're talking about a completely different ball game.
Yeah.
And yeah, to your point, it's a very tough atmosphere to go in and win. And the best way to do that is to play clean, to not turn the football over. If you don't turn the football over, you got a chance because there are times where Luvu was able to get in the backfield and almost like intercept the handoff. I mean, aside from the whole kept jumping off sides on the tush push thing, I mean, he played pretty well today. He was a factor. And so I really do think that we have some something going there with Luvu, Chin, Dorrance Armstrong, guys like that. Johnny Newton, I think he's proved himself. And I do agree with you. I think we need to move one of the two, either Jonathan Allen or Deron Payne next year. Those guys seem like at best they're good for one good highlight play, and then that's it. And then you don't hear anything else. You don't hear about how many times did we hear about Carter making tackles in this game for the Eagles? I mean, he almost was like the one who was involved in every single tackle.
Oh yeah.
Now, I mean, yeah, if I go and look at the stats here, now I say that, and Jonathan Allen he was involved in 5 tackles today, 3 solo. So, how many tackles of those were at the line of scrimmage? And that's what I really want to get at, because you could be involved in a tackle, but that's after the guy's gotten upfield for a few yards. So you look at Carter on the other end, and I'm trying to look at those stats too. Oh, come on. And it's weird because here I am saying all this stuff, and actually it was Zach Bond who had 12 total tackles today. Burks, Blankenship, And actually, I'm saying all this stuff, and I'm looking at Jalen Carter, and it says he only had 2 tackles. I swear he had a lot more tackles than that.
Yeah.
Those 2 tackles had to have been the ones where he bottled things up. Um, but yeah, I mean, I feel like we need a little bit more if you're going to be, these guys are former first rounders and got these big, you know, mega deals,
Yep.
but you expect them to be able to stuff up that run each and every single time. And we haven't been able to do that. So I think we need some new blood in there. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what Adam Peters is going to do, because he's not afraid to move on from big names or what we consider big names. I mean, look at what he did with Montez Sweat and Chase Young last year. He got rid of both of our bookends last year,
Oh, yeah.
and honestly, we improved greatly. I think this year with that. So, yeah, I mean, we've again, it was just it's hard to put it in words, um, you know, um, because I honestly felt at this point that this team was destined. Um, you know, especially getting to all the way to this point, I really felt that there's no team that could beat them at this point.
Oh, yeah.
I was wrong, but um, it's much of them not playing smart football. Getting their emotions ahead of them, knowing this Eagles team is going to get under your skin. They're going to do things, they're going to get away with certain things.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to get under your skin, and you got to be ready for it. So, this team wasn't really, again, you got to keep your head in check. And I would say next year it has to be we're on a business mission. This is not about emotion. This is a business mission, and the journey starts now. Honestly, I would bet that the players right now are probably thinking to themselves, the road to next year's Super Bowl starts now, and I'm going to start working on this immediately. I mean, heck, that's what guys like Tom Brady did after they lost the Super Bowl, or he didn't get to the Super Bowl. He started pretty much the day after and started for the next season. So that's if this team wants to get back, that's what they need to do. Um, Tone Ho has been the sole guy who has been talking to us. So you know what, we're going to honor him by seeing what he has to say. So he said, it's a tough loss, but keep your head up high. On to the next season, we'll be back, but the road will be much tougher. Yes, we'll be playing a second place, um, schedule. But honestly, in the past, it feels like it doesn't matter. Like we always feel like we get a pretty tough schedule no matter what.
Yeah.
So I'm not really worried about that, to be honest with you. I do think this team could beat anybody, and I just haven't seen any of our schedules look like a schedule where it was a cakewalk.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not too worried about it. Yeah, we got Fives back every step of the way, but he needs weapons. Diami Brown, I think he's earned his shot of coming back next year.
Oh, yeah.
Not sure about Jamison Crowder. I like Jamison Crowder. I think he's better at maybe like kick returns, but he's probably the odd man out. We know Noah Brown probably won't come back.
Yeah.
McCaffrey, he's a rookie. He's got a while. He's going to have to show more. He's going to have to really step it up in his sophomore season. But right now, I mean, Terry McLaurin, obviously. I think Diami Brown, good. Zacchaeus, I think he's played some quality minutes for us. So, yeah, we're probably going to be looking at adding some wide receivers next year. But again, I think we need to look at the backfield. I think we really do.
Oh, yeah.
It's time for Allen to go and some some assists, and Johnny Newton deserved to get extended. Well, I mean, he's a rookie, so
Yeah.
let's not talk about extending him just yet. The better team won today. Yeah, I hope the Eagles lose at the Super Bowl. I want the Commanders to go all the way to the Super Bowl. I haven't seen it ever. I understand that. I am lucky because I am old enough that I got to witness them in Super Bowl 17, 18, 22, 26. So I've seen them in the Super Bowl. I've felt the pain of them losing badly in a Super Bowl, and I've felt the joy of them winning a Super Bowl, 3 Super Bowls. So um, it is a great feeling. Um, you just feel like you're on top of the world, and we'll get there. I mean, we've gotten this far. We can get there. We just got to keep churning out, got to keep listening to the coaches, and we've got to, just got to get better in some places. We should have not let John Ridgway walk for Lattimore. You saw him. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, man. I, I, I think Lattimore. I would play Lattimore before I play Emmanuel Forbes, right?
Oh God! I mean, yeah, I played by about 100 guys before I played
Yeah,
Emmanuel Forbes.
I'd
I mean,
suit up first, probably. I just, I think it was a good move to pick up Lattimore. He's very
oh, yeah,
aggressive. But the difference is that um, I mean, he can give guys like Brown fits. Like he
right,
gave him
yeah,
fits today, um, but yeah, I mean he's going to get those calls. The difference with him and like Benjamin St. Juice is Benjamin St. Juice is going to get the calls and still get burnt.
yeah,
So um, Jalen Carter got 2 crucial tackles
oh,
against
yeah,
us. That was the 2 that obviously were recorded. Next offseason, we need to pounce on the free agency and need to improve our run defense. Yeah, we talked about that. We need solid interior D linemen to block the run, and we got exposed hard when Saquon ran for 60. The thing is, Saquon's going to expose everybody.
yeah, yeah,
It's not just us that gets burnt by Saquon Barkley. He's been burning everybody. And honestly, doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter how good of a run defense you are. He's honestly, he has been one of the best running backs I've seen since, dare I say, Barry Sanders. And I've seen a lot of good running backs come in
yeah,
since him, Marshawn Lynch, to name one of them, Jerome Bettis, guys like that, different styles of running backs, fullbacks. But Barkley, he's in a class all of his own right now. And, he's going to get his. And just like Barry Sanders, always going to get his. It's always the name of the game was always about containing. And if you can contain him enough, you got a shot.
yeah,
And that's really how the game is going to be played when it comes to guys like Saquon Barkley. Fry bread toes says O line, secondary, running back, wide receiver, kicker. Um,
yeah,
yeah, I would tend to agree with that. Look at Dan Quinn's quote: "Anybody, anywhere, anytime. We can beat tougher teams next season. We got this."
yep,
Um, yeah, I mean, he's instilled again. He's instilled a no fear type of attitude with his team, and this team's going to keep plugging away at it, and they are going to be a tough team. They're going to get there. I think now that they have gotten to the NFC Championship game, it's now more of a we know we can get there, so we know we can get back. Uh,
yeah,
you know, it's all about now, building up some of those areas, filling the holes, building up some of those areas with excellent depth, and making another run for it. let's just get back to that point, because if we can get back to that point, we're going to prove that we belong in the Super Bowl. So
Oh yeah.
that's I think that's how I feel anyway. Um, I hope Lattimore will be okay and rest up come next season. He'll be back and better than ever balling out. Um, yeah, I think we have Lattimore for at least a couple of more seasons. Um, yeah, he'll obviously be back, and I think having one full season with Lattimore will prove that we still I still feel like Brandon's been saying this all season long. We do need to get another corner, and maybe Sandstrill moves back into the to the middle. But I think we do need another corner who could be a shutdown corner. And
Yeah.
then once you get that, got guys like Quan Martin back there who's
Oh
played
yeah.
really well. It's going to be a killer secondary. Um, we have the best quarterback in the conference. Fill in the cracks. I agree.
Yep.
Um, you know, I think Jalen Hurts. I'm not going to take anything away from him, but Jalen Hurts. Um, take away Saquon Barkley, would Jalen Hurts be as successful this year? I think Saquon.
No.
No, I think Saquon Barkley is the reason they're in the Super Bowl, hands down. I think when you start pressuring Jalen Hurts, he gets into trouble, and we saw a little bit today. So, whereas when you start pressuring Jaden Daniels, he can make plays on you. Now they did get to him a couple of times and sacked him for some losses. And I was surprised at that. I haven't seen too many teams able to catch him in the backfield like that. But he's going to get better. And Jalen Hurts will probably get better as well. But let's not kid ourselves. This is the Saquon show. It really is. I think you meant to say you were right. We need a shutdown corner and improve our secondary. We talked about that later, boys. Just subscribe. Appreciate it, man. I really do. September is long ways away, but we got a good front office, and now, and of course, yes, money and picks. Yes, we're on it. So Brandon, it's been a heck of a season.
Oh yeah.
Us here, we haven't been able to be as active this season. Surprisingly, that I was hoping to. I've had some health issues. Brandon, man, he's got so much on his plate. He does Locked on Wizards. We also have another podcast that we try to do. So, and then of course, regular jobs and stuff that
Yeah.
gets in. Those jobs get in a nasty way of letting us do this stuff that we basically do for free, for the most part, really, honestly. But we're going to keep plugging away at it because
Yeah.
I know you guys like a format of just a couple of guys who feel like we know football. I'll be able to sit down, just kind of wrap it up and talk about it. And so just support us, and don't be scared to send us a message. Say, hey, could you guys maybe do this? Is it possible for you guys to have this person on the show? I'm working on seeing if we can get Joe Theismann back. And I've spoken to his publicist, and we'll see if we could try to get him back if he's not too busy. Brandon has worked on some people as well,
Clinton.
and so
Clinton Portis.
so Clinton Portis. So we're trying to get Clinton. If you happen to be watching this, we would love to have you on the show, as well as hey, other Washington Commanders podcasts out there. Let's collab. Let's get together. Let's talk about it. I feel like we're all a brotherhood. We're not competition with each other. We all have some unique points of view. So yeah, let's just let's make this fun. Let's make this interesting. And let's see what we have for next year. So Brandon, moving forward, what do you think? just quickly, and maybe we'll have video on this too, but what do you think the one lone highlight for you will stand out for this season?
Wow, there's so many of them, man. Draft day, selecting Jaden Daniels. We finally found our franchise quarterback. You know, that's the one defining man. Because if you really look on the field, there's so many examples. The Hail Mary, staying in the fight. I mean, this is a team that just never died, man. We kept fighting, we kept, chipping away at it, man. So it would be him being chosen number 2 overall. And I think he was definitely not only the best quarterback in that draft. Nothing against Caleb Williams, but I'm just being 100% honest. I think he could very well be if not the best, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFC for years to come. So
I have to say, I think the biggest moment for me, um, I think was beating Detroit last week. I know your
yeah,
people were gonna. I know y'all were thinking I was gonna say the Hail Mary, and that was a huge thing. But I think beating Detroit and getting into the NFC Championship game,
yeah,
um, gave me those same emotions and feelings that I have not had with this team since I was a teenager. And
yeah,
it's hard to describe, but it was a moment where I was like, this team is back. And so I think that was the biggest highlight for me. And I'm just, the second certainly I think was the Hail Mary. I mean, that was something I don't think I've ever witnessed for Washington. Tone Ho says that's a huge highlight, and I'm glad we have Jaden Daniels under center. I hope we keep our center, and yeah, he's been good. I think he's a good building block. Tyler is.
oh yeah,
Hopefully, Cosme rehabs that ACL. It's probably going to be tough for him to come back at the beginning of the season. I would probably dare say it's probably going to be in the middle of the season before you'd
yeah,
see him come back, and it's probably going to take him a year from there to really get back to being healthy again. So he's got a long road ahead of him, but we got a few good guys I think there on the offensive line, but we still need to build it up. Um, so I know the other game right now is in progress. The last time I looked up, it's 21-16 Kansas City right now. So um, moving forward, Brandon, are you going to watch the Super Bowl if it's KC and Philly again?
nah, man, I'm
You're
good.
not.
I can find other things to do that night, man. I'm just being honest with you. I mean, I was hoping it was going to be the Commanders and the Bills. I'm just tired of Kansas City and Philadelphia. Like I said, I don't want it to win, but nah. I mean, it's crazy. I used to watch the Super Bowl every year, but honestly, I'm not one of these people that kind of watch every game. I usually just watch my team. If every once in a while I watch another game, man. So I might, but um, I'm just not. Even the halftime show, I'm not a fan of. I think that when it comes to the halftime show, have like musical artists from the local area. It's New Orleans, so you kind of like see Lil Wayne, some other New Orleans artists. So I don't know. I might look at it for about 15 minutes, but if it's Kansas City and Philadelphia, I could care less.
I have to say I haven't missed a Super Bowl since I was like 7 or 8 years old, and I will be turning 50 this year. I know people are saying, "There's no way you're turning 50." Yeah, I'm turning 50. Um, so I don't know. It's just kind of a streak for me that I'm like, nah, I've got to watch. No matter how bad, how I hate the matchup. I mean, I watched all of those Cowboys Super Bowls during the
Oh
'90s,
God.
and I watched those. I was bored at halftime for most of them, but yeah, I watched them all, and so I'll probably watch. I'm a football guy, so I like watching football. So yeah, I'll probably watch it. Um, I won't really care too much for the cutting to Taylor Swift every 5 minutes,
Yeah,
especially every time that Kelsey catches something. But
it's another
um,
reason right there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'll probably watch it, but yeah, it's definitely not. It's not the matchup, obviously, that
Yeah.
you or myself have won it. Um, Tonho says, "Have you invited Anthony Armstrong yet? He's a cool dude. Hey, if Anthony wants to come on, let's
Yeah.
bring him on. I would be just fine with Double A coming on here and chewing it up with us. So yeah, Anthony, if you want to collab, come on the show. We would love to chat. Um, Tomorrow's our off season. If the Chiefs win, I'm not watching the Super Bowl. So there you go, Brandon.
Go.
You're not alone, man. You'll be watching. I don't know what you'll be watching at that point. I'll
Netflix. Yeah.
probably Netflix. Yeah, it might be rewatching Suits or something like that during that time. I'm hoping for Commanders and Bills, but but the NFL thinks otherwise. Yeah, I mean, what can I say? It is what it is. I haven't seen a three-peat champion. So not saying I want to see it, but it would be the first time since I've started watching football in the early 80s that a team has actually done a three-peat. I thought the 49ers would have done it years ago, but they didn't. So, whatever. So, folks, it's been a heck of a ride for this season, and it's not over. We're going to keep putting videos out because there will be a lot to talk about coming in the off season. As a matter of fact, that it's weird. That's when this channel seems to do a lot better is in the off season. I think because there's there's just so much what ifs to talk about and so many unique stories to talk about.
Yeah.
So we're not going away, folks. So if you have other pods that kind of take a break, we don't. So stick with us, man. We're gonna, like I said, we're gonna try to have our off season, hopefully with a lot of really cool guests on the show, and some guys that you probably kind of know. So just stick with us here, and yeah. So appreciate it, Tone. He says, please don't stop. Love your content. So keep making video. Oh, we'll keep making videos. And I do want to apologize, folks. That I know last year I was a little more active. You got to understand that this is not my main job, and like I said, Brandon is not his main thing either. So both of us are so busy, plus with family as well, that there's just times where we've had good intentions of putting videos out, and it's either not, I've either gotten sick, or Brandon got sick, or we just have weird schedules, and so we apologize for that. But that just lets you know that we're real people. We're family men, we're men of God, and so just there's going to be things that are just more important in life that comes up. But that's not to say that we don't find you guys important who support this channel. All of y'all are extremely, extremely important to us. So we just appreciate you all, and just continue to stick with us. And that said, folks, I think, Brandon, what else you got to say before we sign off this evening?
I'm good, man. Y'all hold your heads up because we're definitely heading in the right direction. So, we're gonna have a magical off season, but we're definitely heading in the right direction. We'll definitely be back next season. So,
yes, and folks, that's not to say that we're going to win off the field. We probably will, but it's all about winning on the field.
oh, yeah.
And we're going to keep doing that. So, all right, folks, we're out of here. It's coming up on almost an hour. So I'm glad that you guys stuck with us. Again, make sure that if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you won't miss any other video releases. We'll try to be back later on in the week, and we'll just we'll talk about we'll tear some. How about this, Brandon? How about we just pick some players and we just overanalyze them in the next few videos, and
Sounds like a deal.
yeah, I think we should do that. So we'll plan our first victim. I mean, our first player, and we'll see who we can get. So anyway, all right, folks. For Brandon Scott and Greg Sykes, thank you guys for joining us. We will see you in the next one.